The door swung open, and there he stood. Lucas, my daughter Emily's boyfriend. He had an infectious smile and an energy that filled the room. I felt a jolt of something unexpected, something that made my heart race just a little faster. Was this normal? I tried to shake it off, but the way he looked at me stirred a mix of excitement and confusion within me. "Hi, Mrs. Thompson. Is Emily around?" His voice was bright, almost teasing, but it struck me in a way I hadn't felt in years. I glanced around my home, a place filled with memories, but now it felt different, dull, heavy. I smiled back, trying to mask the tension swirling inside me. "She's upstairs, just give her a minute," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. As he stepped inside, the air shifted. I watched him walk through the living room, youthful and carefree. While I stood there, a woman who felt trapped in a routine. Thomas, my husband, was always busy with work, lost in his own world. He didn't notice the longing in my eyes, the monotony that had settled like dust in our lives. I often wondered if he even saw me anymore. I glanced at Lucas again, and for a moment, our eyes locked. There was admiration there, a spark that sent a shiver down my spine. It was thrilling and terrifying all at once. "What do you think of the new video game?" Lucas asked, breaking the spell. I could see the excitement in his eyes, talking about something so trivial, yet it reminded me of the passion I once had. "It seems fun," I managed to say, but my mind was racing. Did I really just feel that? Was I actually drawn to him? I felt guilty, like I was crossing a line I shouldn't even be near. "Emily says you used to play games with her," he continued, completely at ease. "Maybe we can all play together sometime?" I nodded, forcing a smile. That sounds nice. But inside, my heart was pounding. What was happening to me? I had a family, a life. But here was Lucas, embodying everything I felt I had lost: youth, excitement, and a sense of being seen. As I watched him talk, I couldn't help but feel drawn to the energy he radiated. It was as if he was a breath of fresh air, blowing away the cobwebs of my daily life. But then guilt washed over me. How could I allow myself to feel this way about my daughter's boyfriend? "Do you think your mom would be interested in joining us for a game night?" Lucas asked, a playful smile on his face. "Oh, I don't know if she plays anymore," Emily said as she walked down the stairs. "Mom is busy with other things." I shot Emily a quick look, a silent plea for her not to dig deeper. But Lucas's gaze lingered on me, as if he was trying to read between the lines. "Maybe I can change that," he said, winking at me. My stomach flipped. I felt the warmth of his attention, a spotlight on my hidden desires, and it both thrilled and terrified me. What was I thinking? I had a marriage to maintain, a daughter to protect. Yet here I was, caught in this moment with Lucas. The weight of my choices loomed over me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. As the evening unfolded, I found myself questioning everything. What did I really want? Was I willing to risk my family for a fleeting thrill? Each glance from Lucas ignited a fire within me, a fire I thought had been extinguished long ago. Why did I feel so alive in his presence? It was exhilarating, yet the guilt tightened its grip around my heart. In that moment, I stood at a crossroads, not knowing which path to choose. Would I allow myself to explore this unexpected chemistry, or would I pull back into the safety of my predictable life? The questions danced in my mind, and I knew this was just the beginning of something I could not yet understand. As I sat in the living room, I found myself lost in memories of my early marriage with Thomas. I could see us, young and full of dreams, laughing together over cups of coffee. Back then, every moment felt special. But now, the laughter had faded, replaced by the dull rhythm of our daily lives. I I glanced at the clock, its ticking sound echoing the monotony of my existence. What happened to us? I whispered to myself, feeling a knot in my stomach. I remembered the nights we would talk about our future, the plans we made. We wanted to travel, to explore the world together. But those dreams slowly slipped away as work consumed Thomas and life settled into a predictable routine. "Maris, can you help me with this?" Thomas called from the kitchen, interrupting my thoughts. I forced a smile and replied, "Sure," as I got up to assist him. But inside, I felt a wave of sadness. I loved him, yet I felt so distant from him. After dinner, I sat on the couch, trying to distract myself with a book, but my thoughts drifted back to Lucas. The spark I felt when he entered my home was still fresh in my mind. He was so full of life, a stark contrast to the stillness that had taken over my marriage. Why am I thinking about him? I questioned aloud. The warmth that spread through me at the thought of Lucas made me uneasy. It was wrong, yet it felt so right. I could not help but think of the dreams I had let go, the passions I had buried under years of responsibility and routine. As I closed my eyes, I remembered my younger self. I had so many aspirations, writing, traveling, discovering new things. But life had turned into a series of chores and obligations. I felt like a ghost in my own home, drifting from one task to another without purpose. "Do you ever think about how we used to be?" I asked Thomas one evening as we sat on the porch. He looked at me, surprised. "What do you mean?" he replied, furrowing his brow. I sighed. "Like, before everything became so routine? We used to dream together." He shrugged and said, "I don't know, Maris. Life changes. We have responsibilities now." His words stung. I wanted to scream, to shake him, and make him see how deeply I felt the weight of our disconnected lives. But I just nodded, swallowing my frustration. It was during one of those quiet nights that I began to realize how much I missed feeling desired. Lucas was young and vibrant, and his admiration for me felt like a breath of fresh air. I caught myself smiling at the memory of his gaze, how he looked at me as if I were the only person in the world. "Mom!" Emily's voice pulled me from my thoughts. "Are you okay?" I turned to see her standing in the doorway, concern etched on her face. I quickly wiped a stray tear from my cheek. "Just thinking, sweetheart. About life, you know?" She nodded, but I could see her curiosity. "You've been quiet lately. Is everything all right with you and Dad?" "Yeah, we're fine," I said, forcing a smile. But I knew the truth. Nothing felt fine. I was torn between my role as a mother and the desires that stirred within me like a dormant volcano ready to erupt. As I revisited old dreams and feelings, I couldn't shake the sense that Lucas represented something more than just youthful attraction. He was a reminder of the passions I had let slip away. And now, as I navigated this new dynamic, I felt pulled in different directions. "Why is it so complicated?" I murmured to myself, feeling the weight of my choices. I wanted to be a good mother, but a part of me longed for the excitement and passion that had been missing from my life for too long. In that moment of reflection, I knew I had to confront these feelings. I had to find a way to reconcile the desires that battled within me against the responsibilities I had embraced as a mother. It was a journey I never expected to take, but one that seemed inevitable as I moved forward, caught in the web of my own making. The day had started like any other. I was in the kitchen, making breakfast while the sun poured through the window, casting warm light across the room. Emily was still asleep, her teenage dreams wrapping her in a cocoon of comfort. I thought about Lucas, my daughter's boyfriend, and the strange pull I felt towards him. It was a feeling I could not shake, no matter how hard I tried. As I flipped the pancakes, my mind drifted back to the moment we had shared. The stolen kiss, It had been unexpected. A rush of adrenaline that lit up a part of me I thought had gone dark. Lucas had stepped closer, his eyes searching mine, and before I knew it, our lips met. It was quick, almost innocent, but it sent shockwaves through my entire being. I could still feel the warmth of that moment, but with it came a wave of guilt that crashed over me like a cold tide. "Mom?" Emily's voice broke through my thoughts. "What's for breakfast?" "Just pancakes, sweetheart," I replied, trying to sound normal. "Your favorite." "Yum! I'll be down in a minute," she called back, and I could hear her shuffling around in her room. My heart raced. I had to face the reality of what had happened. The kiss with Lucas felt like a line I had crossed, and I feared the consequences if it ever came to light. I finished cooking, but my mind was elsewhere. What would happen if Emily found out? Would she understand? Or would she feel betrayed? I could hardly bear the thought of hurting her. I had always tried to be a good mother, yet here I was, tangled in this web of desire and guilt. Just as I was about to set the table, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Lucas. "Can we talk later?" My heart skipped a beat. Did he feel the same whirlwind of emotions? I quickly typed back, "Sure, but we need to be careful." I hit send, my hands shaking slightly. After breakfast, Emily and I sat at the table, the air thick with unspoken words. She seemed distracted, scrolling through her phone. "Mom, can I ask you something?" she finally said, her tone serious. "Of course, honey. What's on your mind?" I tried to keep my voice steady, but my insides twisted. "Have you noticed how Lucas looks at you sometimes?" she asked, her eyes narrowing. "It's like he sees something in you that you don't even see in yourself." My breath caught in my throat. I wanted to deny it, to brush it off as a teenage overreaction, but I knew better. "He's just being friendly, Emily," I managed to say, forcing a smile. "You're lying," she shot back, and I could see the hurt in her eyes. "I can tell when someone likes someone else, Mom. It's obvious." I looked down at my plate, shame washing over me. I was caught in a storm of emotions, torn between my daughter's trust and my own desires. "Emily, it's not what you think," I began, my voice trembling. "Then what is it?" she asked, crossing her arms. "Because it feels like you're hiding something." I sighed, the weight of my secret heavy on my chest. "I'm just trying to figure things out, okay? Life is complicated." "Yeah, but you're my mom. You're supposed to have it all together." Her words stung, cutting deeper than I expected. "I know, and I'm sorry," I whispered, my throat tight. I'm just trying to find my way." As the conversation hung in the air, I realized that I had to confront my feelings for Lucas, not just for myself, but for Emily too. I couldn't let this situation spiral out of control, but the truth was, I was drawn to Lucas in a way that scared me, and it was becoming harder to resist. That afternoon, as I prepared to meet Lucas, my heart raced with a mix of excitement and dread. I was stepping into dangerous territory, and I had no idea how it would all play out. But one thing was clear: things would never be the same again. The day started like any other, but I felt a tight knot of anxiety in my stomach. Lucas was supposed to come over after school to help Emily with her homework. I had convinced myself that it would be fine, that nothing would happen. But the reality was that my heart raced every time I thought about him. I pushed the thoughts aside as I prepared snacks in the kitchen, trying to focus on the task at hand. When they arrived, I turned to greet them with a smile. Lucas walked in, his youthful energy lighting up the room. "Hey, Maris," he said, his voice warm. I felt a spark of joy just from hearing him call my name. Emily rolled her eyes, but I could see a small smile tugging at her lips. "Hi, Lucas. Ready to tackle those math problems?" I asked, trying to keep things light. "Always," he replied, grinning. As they settled at the dining table, I felt an overwhelming sense of normalcy. But as I walked past them, I caught Lucas looking at me. His gaze sent a shiver down my spine, igniting the memories of our stolen kiss. What was I doing? Suddenly, the door swung open, and Emily's friend Sarah walked in. "Hey, Emily, can I hang out?" she called out, her voice cheerful. Emily looked up, surprised. "Sure, just a sec." She turned to Lucas. "You don't mind, do you?" "Not at all," he said, his eyes still on me. I felt the weight of his gaze as I busied myself with the dishes. Just then, the front door creaked open again, and I turned to see Emily walk into the living room, Sarah following closely behind. "Mom, is that you?" Emily called out, her voice suddenly sharp. My heart dropped. I froze, knowing I was caught in a web of confusion and guilt. I turned slowly, and my worst fear came true. Emily's eyes widened in shock as she saw Lucas standing there. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, her voice trembling. The air thickened with tension, and I felt my heart race even faster. "Emily, it's not what you think," I said, my voice shaky. I could see the hurt in her eyes, and it cut me deeply. "Then what is it? Because it sure looks like you two are getting cozy," she shot back, her words like daggers. I could feel the walls closing in on me. "Emily, please, let me explain," I pleaded, stepping closer. But she stepped back, shaking her head. "No, I can't believe this. You're my mom, and you're with my boyfriend?" she yelled, tears brimming in her eyes. The pain in her voice was unbearable. It's complicated. I never meant to hurt you," I said, my heart sinking. "Complicated? You're breaking my heart. Do you even care?" she cried, her voice cracking. It felt like a punch to my gut. "I do care. I care so much," I replied, desperation creeping into my tone. But I got lost somewhere along the way. I thought I could find myself again. "By ruining my life?" Emily's words hung heavy in the air. I felt the weight of my choices crashing down on me. "I'm so sorry, Emily. I didn't think it would go this far," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. The reality of my actions hit me like a tidal wave, and I could feel the world around me crumbling. Silence filled the room, and I could see the shock in her expression. Lucas stood awkwardly, not knowing what to say or do. "Just leave," Emily finally said, her voice cold. "Both of you. I can't even look at you right now." I felt my heart shatter as I looked at her. "Emily, please." I started, but she turned away, wiping her tears angrily. With a heavy heart, I looked at Lucas, who seemed equally devastated. "I think we should go," he whispered. I nodded, feeling the weight of my decisions like a heavy stone in my chest. As we left, I glanced back at Emily, who stood there, broken and angry. I knew that I had not only shattered our fragile world, but also the trust she had in me. The reality of my choices sank in, and I felt as if I had lost everything I held dear. The confrontation had forced me to face the truth of what I had done, and it crushed me. The sun shone brightly through the kitchen window as I sat at the table, staring at a half-empty cup of coffee. My heart felt heavy, and the weight of my choices hung over me like a dark cloud. I had hurt Emily, and I knew I had to seek her forgiveness. The thought of facing her made my stomach churn, but I couldn't hide forever. "Mom?" Emily's voice broke through my thoughts, pulling me back to reality. She stood at the entrance of the kitchen, her arms crossed tightly across her chest. Her eyes were a mix of anger and pain, and I felt a sharp pang of guilt. "Emily, I started, but the words got stuck in my throat. I needed to say something, anything, to bridge the gap between us. "Do you even care how I feel?" she shot back, her voice trembling. You betrayed me with Lucas. How could you do this? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. I know I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. I got lost somewhere along the way. Her expression softened for a moment, but the hurt was still there, like a shadow looming over us. You should have thought about that before, Mom. You should have thought about me. The truth in her words stung. I had been selfish, chasing a thrill without considering the consequences. I know, I was wrong. I thought I could feel something again, something I lost. But I see now that I only made things worse. I don't want to hear excuses, she replied, her voice firm but quiet. It hurts to know you chose him over me. I didn't choose him over you, I said quickly, feeling a mix of desperation and fear. It was never about that. I was trying to feel alive again, and in doing so, I lost sight of what matters most. My family. Emily turned away, looking out the window. The silence stretched between us like a wide chasm. I don't know if I can forgive you, Mom. It's going to take time. I understand, I whispered, feeling the tears prick at the corners of my eyes. I just want you to know that I love you. I love you more than anything, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this right. She turned back to me, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. You say that now, but how can I trust you again? You broke my heart. I nodded, knowing that trust is something that takes time to build and even longer to repair once it's shattered. You're right. I have to earn your trust back. I will do everything I can to show you how much you mean to me. I watched as Emily's expression shifted from anger to a mix of uncertainty and hope. I just feel so confused, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. One moment, I'm mad at you, and the next, I just want my mom back. I'm still your mom, I said, my heart aching for her. I made a mistake, but I will fight to be the mother you deserve. Please give me a chance. Emily sighed, rubbing her forehead as if trying to erase the tension. It's just hard, Mom. I don't know how to move on from this. I stood up, walking over to her and placing a hand on her shoulder. Let's take it one step at a time. We can talk, and I promise to be honest with you. I want to hear how you feel, and I want to share how I've been feeling too. She looked up at me, searching for sincerity in my eyes. Okay, but it's going to take time for me to process everything. I understand, sweetheart, I replied, feeling a flicker of hope. I'm here for you, no matter how long it takes. As we stood together in the kitchen, I began to realize that this journey of seeking forgiveness was not just about me. It was about rebuilding our connection, a bond that could withstand the storms of life. My affair with Lucas had been a mistake, but it had also opened my eyes to the love and loyalty I had neglected in my family. Together, we could find a way back to each other, and I hoped it would be worth every effort. The weight of my choices pressed heavily on my chest as I stared at the walls of our home. I had spent so many years trying to build a life for my daughter and me, but I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, looking down into a chasm of uncertainty. Lucas was still in my heart, but my responsibilities as a mother pulled me back, reminding me of the promises I had made. Mom, can we talk? Emily's voice broke through my thoughts. She stood in the doorway, her expression serious yet hopeful. I felt a rush of guilt wash over me as I remembered the pain I had caused her. Of course, honey. Come in, I replied, motioning for her to sit down beside me on the couch. As she sat, I noticed how much she had grown. The girl who used to play dress-up was now a young woman, grappling with her own feelings and hurt. I've been thinking, she began, her voice trembling slightly, about everything that happened, with Lucas. My heart raced at the mention of his name. Emily, please let me finish. she interrupted, holding up her hand. I know you made a mistake. I know it hurt me. But I want to understand why it happened. I need to know if you still care about me. Her question hung in the air, heavy and painful. I wanted to reach out to her, to tell her how much I loved her, how she was my priority. I do care about you, Emily. You are my world. I never wanted to hurt you. I got lost somewhere along the way, and I think I was trying to fill a void that kept growing. Emily looked at me, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. But does Lucas fill that void? Or is he just a distraction? I hesitated, feeling the truth of her words. He was both. He made me feel alive again, but I realize now that it was a temporary fix. What I really need is to face my life honestly. I need to work on our relationship, on my marriage. I can't keep running away. Emily nodded, her expression softening. I appreciate you saying that. I want my mom back. The mom who was always there for me. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I reached for her hand. I'm here, Em. I promise to do better. I want to rebuild our trust. Can we start small? Maybe we can have a movie night this weekend, just the two of us? A small smile broke through her sadness. That sounds nice. I miss those nights. As we sat together, I felt a flicker of hope. The path to healing would not be easy, but I could see a way forward. We talked more about her school, her dreams, and slowly, I could feel the distance between us starting to close. Later that evening, after Emily went to bed, I found myself sitting in the quiet of the living room. The house felt different, lighter somehow. I took a deep breath and reflected on everything that had happened. I knew I had to make a decision about Lucas. In my heart, I understood that desire was not enough to build a future. True love and commitment required more than just passion. They required honesty, understanding, and a willingness to face the truth about oneself. I realized that my journey was not just about wanting someone else's affection, but about discovering what I truly wanted for my life. I picked up my phone, hesitating for a moment before scrolling through my contacts to find Lucas's name. I had to tell him how I felt. I needed to be honest with him too. Hey, it's Maris, I typed. We need to talk. I've been thinking a lot about us and what it all means. As I hit send, I felt a mix of relief and fear. I was finally taking a step towards embracing the complexity of my choices. I was ready to create a new life, one filled with genuine love and connection. Not just for myself, but for Emily too. I could not change the past, but I could shape the future. And for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about what was to come. Share this story if you believe that love and honesty can heal even the deepest wounds. Leave a comment about a time when facing the truth transformed your life, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one.